Hello, lovers! Today I wanted to show you my forehead. And here I'm going to freeze for a second on my probably biggest insecurity. You can see there when I totally relax my forehead and I don't have my bangs over it, it's pretty special. So while I put on some Urban Decay primer potion here, I'll tell you that that's basically my entire makeup routine revolves around hiding my forehead and my droopy brows and eyelids. So here you get to see kind of how I do that. So now I'm going to start putting some cheap Wet n Wild eyebrows on my face. So you'll notice that I totally fill in my eyebrows. I barely have any of my natural brows left. I overpluck them on purpose because it helps me compensate for how incredibly uneven they are. You can probably tell my right eyebrow is way lower than the other one. The brow and the lid also droop more than the other one. So pretty much my entire makeup routine revolves around camouflaging and compensating for that. So if you also have that issue, I hope maybe this is helpful. More likely it just sort of shows you that someone else has this issue. So yeah, I just thought I would show you guys kind of what I do, at least for this kind of dramatic look. And also I wanted to show that it takes me a long time and a lot of trial and error to do this. Because I think sometimes when I'm watching actual professionals do makeup, they make it look so easy. And they make it look like, yeah, like all this magical stuff is possible. And sometimes if you're like me, you have a certain eyebrow shape or a certain lid type, or your face is just getting older, also like me. And so certain looks just don't really work so well. So here's a real person who has zero actual makeup training, fumbling my way through a really dramatic look. So I always start with primer, then I do my brows, and I do that so that I can go back in with the Q-tip like you saw me do earlier and clean up the shape and really work on getting my brows as even and flattering as I can. And then I go in with the highlighter, which is what you saw me do a second ago, and then now I am starting in with this Dior 5 color shadow palette. I would tell you which one it is, but I was gifted this from someone who used to work for Dior. I'm pretty sure they no longer make this particular palette. Technically, I probably should throw it away, but hey, there's another confession for you. I'm one of those people who tends to hoard expensive things or things that I find precious in any way. So I'm not throwing it away. I'm going to use it until it dies. So I started with the lightest color and I did that all over, and then here you can see me going in with the dark blue and sort of starting to do this shape that I like to do. I really like to build a really dark outer corner on most of my looks. Not necessarily because I think dramatic and really unnatural looking makeup is good or better, but because I personally think it helps hide that whole issue I have where my eyes droop and get kind of uneven. So I feel like that kind of helps me hide that. And also, you know, makeup's fun, so I pile it on. But what you'll see here over the course of the entire video is that I go back in over and over and over again. So I would encourage you, if you are trying to do something more complicated or a more dramatic look and it doesn't seem to be working for you, just keep building and keep blending and see what you can do with it. It's not easy. This whole thing, like I said, it took me an hour and a half to do this face. So, yeah, just keep building and trying. And I do think good tools help. You'll see every brush that I use here is either MAC or Morphe. and I do think good brushes help. And even, like, maybe filming yourself might be a good idea. Because when I watched myself do this, I realized I'm kind of heavy-handed with my brushes. And I think that actually makes blending way more difficult. I think if I had a lighter touch, my shadows would probably blend a lot easier and I wouldn't have some of the problems that I have when I'm doing my makeup. Here I'm adding the black into the outer corners, and again, you're going to see me build and build and build until I finally get it at least close to the way I want it. So, a lot of what I do know about makeup, I have learned definitely through a lot of trial and error, and pretty much everything that I can accomplish with makeup, I learned by trying to imitate other people. So, Kevin Aqua's book, Making Faces, changed my life, but it took me a long time to learn how to do any of this. Basically, my makeup was pretty atrocious and pretty awful right up until my mid-20s. So if you're having trouble with it, know that nobody just magically knows how to do this stuff. And I'm definitely not claiming to be an expert by any means. My makeup skills, I personally think are pretty mediocre, but I am pretty proud of what I am able to do here and there. So I just showed you my Wet n Wild H2O proof liner that I'm using here. While I firmly believe that some things are really worth the money and you can't get around the cost when it comes to beauty products, there's also some cheap gems out there. I also really love the ELF gel black liner. That stuff is pretty damn magical for the price. But I've been into the ease of painting liquid liner lately, even though I end up having to go over it with powder to get the look that I want. You'll see me do that later with the black eyeshadow. But yeah, so sometimes I use really expensive stuff and sometimes I don't. Some things I think it's worth the money for and some things I don't. With eyeshadows, I definitely pretty much always splurge on luxury brands. Because cakey and unpigmented eyeshadows are just so horribly disappointing. I've also had allergic reactions to a couple of cheaper shadows. Wet n Wild, for example, their liner is pretty awesome. I'm pretty impressed with it. But I'll never touch their eyeshadows ever again after having puffy eyes for 2 weeks once. So, just, experiment and see what you can and can't live without. Now here I'm going in with a tiny little brush. I'm definitely of the philosophy of you can always add more, but with makeup, if you get to the point where you need to take stuff off, you gotta pretty much start all over again. So I just, take the time to add a little bit, check, add a little bit, check, make a weird face because there's tons of fallout, and check. This is another reason why I don't do my foundation or any of that first. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely always end up with fallout, especially if I'm doing something super dramatic like this.
I can't seem to get the internet working. Check back in just a sec.
Well, thank you for that, Cortana. For interrupting my voiceover. Yeah, that's me pointing out my fallout. It was super awesome. Alright, so I'm finally at least vaguely done with that shape. There you can get a better look at it. But yeah, I just keep blending until it looks like I know what I'm doing. I do like to kind of create that winged shape with the eyeshadow. You'll see that I don't really bother doing it with my liner, I just do it with the shadow. That's, again, another method I use to try and help cover up the unevenness of my two eyes. Bless you, Josie. So I find when I do that, the wing shape with shadow instead of with liner, it's much more forgiving of mistakes. So maybe if you just have trouble drawing wings because you can't ever quite get them even, maybe try my eyeshadow method. So here I'm going in with some Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer. I use the oil-free one because it stays longer in my experience. And I'm blending that in with a blender. This one's not Beauty Blender. This one's made by Aesthetica. I found it on Amazon. It was way cheaper than Beauty Blender and had good reviews. So I went ahead and gave it a shot, and I love it. It's a really great alternative to the Beauty Blender. And also, honestly, I wanted a black one. I really hate the look of the pink ones when they're dirty with foundation when I'm watching other makeup artists' makeup videos. Wow, I just said that like as if I'm a makeup artist. I am not a makeup artist. I feel like that's painfully obvious from this video that I had to cut up and speed up like crazy because it was an hour and a half long originally. So yeah, I do definitely recommend that Aesthetica sponge. I love it a lot. In case it's not obvious, I'm definitely not sponsored by any of these brands I'm mentioning. So it's purely my personal, uneducated opinion. Another thing you might notice, I just did the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer. I didn't do concealer at all. I don't know, concealer seems kind of excessive to me. I personally can't seem to get it to not just settle into cracks and crevices. I generally find it makes a lot of my flaws more obvious. So at this point in my life, I usually just let those blemishes kind of shine through. I do go in with a little bit of powder there to finish and kind of set my makeup there. I also find that if I go in really, really lightly with powder, it makes my contouring blending easier later. This is Dior Show's Blackout. I actually don't recommend this mascara. The first couple times I tried it, I really, really liked it. But the first couple times I tried it, I was using it in really, really warm temperatures, which made the mascara much more liquid. It's a very, very thick, very waxy formula, and I do find it flakes off into my eyes a lot. So while I'm using it here, I don't actually recommend it. I think there's better mascaras out there that won't make you miserable all night as they flake off. Taking a look, seeing how I feel about it. Pretty good. I'm making that weird face because my Hula bronzer is so dirty. It might be the most consistently used piece of makeup product that I have, so it takes a beating. But anyways, here you can see me going through. I'm so used to doing makeup for being in low light and dancing. I don't even really think about looking natural, so this might be kind of a dramatic contour for some people, but I guess it's just sort of the way that I've been doing it, and it's the way that I end up liking it. I also go in and do the sides of my nose and under my nose a little bit. But yeah, I personally feel that I just do not have prominent cheekbones at all, so I gotta paint that stuff on. The blush I use here is another product that's ancient, and I'm embarrassed that I still have it and still use it. I should probably, oh, hello cell phone. I should probably throw it away, but it's just so pretty. It's a Urban Decay blush from, oh god, I've had it since I was a freshman in college. So that was a very, very long time ago. Again, I'm going in with the Laura Mercier highlighter. It's one of her matte shimmers, number 1. I like it a lot. I think I'm ready for something more dramatic. I'm finding more and more often that I go in for like a 3rd layer of it now, because I'm really into the very dramatic highlighting these days. But yeah, not too bad for someone who doesn't know what they're doing, huh? Well, one last time I went in, this is the brush I used for the lightest blue, and I'm just sort of using it to smooth out those edges just a little bit more. And now I'm doing a little dance, because that's what I do. Now I'm about to move on to the thing that I think I get asked about most with makeup stuff, and that's fake eyelashes. I currently use Duo eyelash glue, and this is my little trick here. I don't remember who taught me this, but someone did. I always put the glue just on the end of one of my makeup brushes and put it on the band of the lash that way. You're much less likely to get a glob of glue into the actual hairs of the lash that way. But the thing that I really want to urge with lashes is to remember that the glue doesn't just adhere completely instantly, and that's an advantage, not a problem. So I always just sort of place the lashes haphazardly, like I just did, and then I go in and adjust. You have to remind yourself that that glue is going to dry clear. You're not going to be able to see it in a minute or two. So you just go ahead and pick up that lash and move it around. And move it until it's in the right place. So it's not poking you, it's not floating too high up, it's not down on your actual lashes, but right in that sweet spot on the lash line. I also strongly recommend trimming the hell out of your lashes. These are a pair of cream, whatever, that cheapo brand of lashes that I have trimmed and customized quite a bit. Not only have I trimmed some length off the strip of the lash, but I've also gone into the corner and trimmed the inner corner lashes to a more dramatic taper, just because I absolutely hate it when you can see that blunt stop where the fake lashes stop and your real lashes take over. Personal pet peeve. I hate that. But anyways, the shorter I trim a strip of lashes, the more manageable and the more easy to place they are, and the less likely they are to poke me in the corner of the eye, which is a common problem I have, because my eyes are so small. So now I've got the lashes on, I'm going back in with more black to just sort of solidify things and make that outer corner look better. It's also, I find, easier to finalize that outer wing shape once you have the lashes on. So that's another thing that I do. So I tried 2 different lip colors with this eyeshadow that I did, and I hated both of them. You'll see me take them both off and go back to my usual standby, which is just a little bit of lip balm. I suck at lip color. I can't do it well. I'm not good at picking out the right colors. I'm not good at picking out what colors to go with what eyeshadow look. And I often feel like no matter what color I put, if I've got any sort of shadow on my eyes at all, I feel like the lip color I add suddenly adds like 5 to 10 years to my age. I don't know what's up with that. I haven't figured it out. If you are a lipstick gangster and have suggestions for me, let me know. Link me to other YouTube tutorials, whatever. Yeah, like this one's not that bad, but I felt like it just sort of, it's too much. It makes no sense to me. I feel like if too much was the only issue, I feel like the gloss would have worked, because it was just a subtle champagne shimmer gloss. Anyways, so this is basically the finished look. There we go. If you're still watching, I can't believe you're still here. Anyways, I hope this was somewhat helpful or entertaining. You can see what I did. Yeah. Thanks for watching, you guys. I am Josie the Fiend. You are awesome. Let me know if there's something else you want to see or any questions you have, guys.